I wish my kids could grow in Barranquilla. Barranquilla is a coastal city of about 3 million people, next to Cartagena, which is a very touristic area of the country. I was fortunate, I had a stable childhood. I was protected by a loving and caring family, and I got all my basic needs covered, which is unfortunately something that a lot of kids in Colombia don't have. It's a country that has been especially hit by injustice and social crisis, and there's millions of kids who don't have the opportunity to go to school. There's about 3 million kids who don't go to school, for example, in my country. And so I could consider myself a lucky child, My grandparents were musicians, not professional musicians, but they used to play the flute and the piano, and the whole family used to gather and meet around them and listen to them play instruments. And that probably has to do with the fact that that was always, since a very early age, very enthusiastic about music. I always felt passion about music, from a very early age, but I was also very passionate about dancing, and my parents are really stiff. They can't really move much. I don't know why. So sometimes those are one of the mysteries of being alive, being your own person. By the time I was 10, I already knew that I wanted to be a professional singer. So I started doing my first live performances in my hometown. And that's how I got to meet a friend who later on met someone from CBS back then, who apparently got interested in watching me and hearing me, and in one of his visits to my hometown, I performed for this executive of the company a cappella. I sang half of my repertoire, songs that I had already written in past years, and that's how he brought the idea to the other executives at the company, and they decided they wanted to see me. So that's how I flew to Bogota with my mom and performed for all these other gentlemen, and and the next day I got a contract. I was realizing that I was making tangible so many of my dreams, and I was on a mission. I was really concentrated back then. I was a child, but I had an adult's determination, and I knew that I had a destiny. Don't know why, and don't know in which way. It's very difficult to describe because it was so internalized. But I had this commitment, and it was a serious commitment. I was very serious back then, as serious as I am today. So I had to somehow make a living there, and this opportunity arose. I was semi-popular in Colombia, semi-known. Because of my first 2 albums that were relatively exposed, to the public eye, and that's how I got this, this proposal of becoming the main role of a soap opera. Of course, it was very flattering, and I wanted to do it, so I did it, and it was a great experience. But I don't recommend anybody to watch this soap opera piece. It's not one of the greatest works of art that I've done in my life. No, I had a good childhood. I think I enjoyed those years. I probably skipped my adolescence because I always was I wanted to be so proper. I never did anything that could detour me from my main path. From that path that would take me directly to my dreams, to encounter them. And so I wanted to be just precise, and I think I didn't have a crazy adolescence, which is what I should have had, So I'll probably live it later on when I'm 65 or something. You'll see me all covered in makeup, partying around like a beast. Writing in English was definitely an intellectual challenge for me because I I wasn't really fluent in English 4 years ago, and I just wonder what it'd be like to write songs in a language that is your foreign language, you know. And that's actually something that I've enjoyed so much, and now I'm even writing in German and French, which are languages that I don't speak. But in this past album, I just wanted to experiment a little bit, and I think it worked out, you know. So it's something I enjoy. I enjoy languages too. I wanted to be successful, you know. There's a huge difference between fame and success. I didn't know about fame, you know. That's one thing, but I wanted to be successful. Otherwise, I would have not accepted the challenge, you know. But you know, having had the results that Laundry Sevens obtained around the world was even beyond my expectations. It was more than what I ever dreamed about. Being on the stage in front of an audience is the same sensation. It doesn't matter if you're performing for 20 people in a bar or if you're performing for 20,000 people in an arena, you know. Just the sizes change, but the passion, the need of delivering your heart, your soul, what you have to say, it's always the same. So that really didn't change. It wasn't dramatic that way. But what did change was the way I felt in this new territory, you know, having to adjust and adapt to so many semi-rules of the industry, you know. When I was so used to managing my career in such different way, you know. I remember that when I started with Pies Descalzos, or Bare Feet, which was my third album numerically speaking, but it was the first album that gave me some kind of international success. I didn't have a makeup artist, I didn't have a stylist, I didn't have I had a manager, but I didn't have an assistant, I didn't have a marketing plan, you know. Nothing. So I just started with empty hands and started planting my seeds, you know, here and there, and then all of a sudden I got a beautiful harvest. I didn't take a break at all, you know. After my tour of the Mongols ended, I just secluded myself in a recording studio and started writing and making demos of the first ideas I had, and this is a process that extended over 2 years. Until recently, you know, and I didn't even have time to take any vacation before I released Oral Fixation Volume 1, and even less now that I'm about to release Oral Fixation Volume 2. But believe me, I'm gonna get a sabbatical year sometime soon. It was not thought out to be a double album project. But it just happened, you know. One day I realized I had written more than 60 songs, and I put myself in the difficult task of selecting my favorite ones, which ended up being 20. And that's how I came up with the idea of a double project, you know, or a double album, Volume 1, Volume 2, because I knew it was going to be just too much music to put in one CD. And plus I wanted to introduce my Anglo fans to my Hispanic way of interpreting and expressing my own music. You know, it was so important to me that people from all over the world could get familiar to my music in Spanish as well. And that's probably one of the biggest achievements I've done in my life is just to have a song like La Tortura being number one in so many European countries or Middle Eastern countries, and you know, when it's a Spanish song, that's something that just, you know, it's a great story to tell my children. Oral Fixation Volume 1 is basically all the Spanish songs that I wrote and produced over these past 2 years. Oral Fixation Volume 2 are another 10 songs, but these ones were written in English and recorded in English as well, and these are completely different from Volume 1. So it's basically a 20 songs repertoire split into two different momentums, you know, two different albums. Volume 1 is very organic, I would say, and Volume 2 has a bit of that too, but I think it also involves more rock and electronic elements. These albums are like my thesis, you know. I feel that I graduated as a producer, as a musician, as an arranger. It's been hard work. It's been like like delivering a kid, but just that in this case they're twins, so it's double the work, but double the satisfaction. Coping with fame and popularity and all of that has been sort of a gradual process, you know. It hasn't happened suddenly. Fame didn't knock on my door one day and said, "Hey, I'm your new roommate." No, it wasn't like that. It's been a learning curve, and I feel that my relationship with fame is so old that I already know her very well. I know her vices and her virtues. I know, what her intentions are sometimes, and how I can use her as well. So it's healthy, I never felt that it was something I couldn't deal. And probably the fact that I've been so close to my family my whole life has always given me some kind of perspective, I think it would have been really difficult if I would have started a career like this one that's so invasive and leave my family apart from me for all these years. It would have been crazy. I don't know if I would be the same person I am today. Well, I created this foundation, Pies Descalzos, or Bare Feet, when I was 18, and it's been growing every year a little bit, and today we have almost 3,000 kids who we support with education and food. We have an integrated program that combines both things, because we believe that giving food to these kids who are usually with an empty stomach is a great incentive for them and for their parents to send them to school and to keep them away from violence or even violent environments in which they grow up. Because these kids come from very difficult situations of conflict, they're usually in the middle of this crossfire between the left and the right-wing armed groups in Colombia. And there's a huge percentage of kids who don't go to school. Actually, there's 3 million kids who don't go to school in my country, and so we wanted to do something about it, and we're building schools in very remote places. And with this combined nutritional and educational program, we feel that these kids are improving their quality of life. There's so much left. To keep looking for that one song that I haven't written yet, for example. Someday to have family, my own family, kids, real kids, And I don't know, to just learn from the work that I do with UNICEF and as an ambassador. That's something that also constitutes a very important part of my life, as important as the music side, is to be able to, to take both jobs parallel and be able to do it well. It's one of my biggest goals, and just, keep learning.